Hello and welcome to A Bettor Morning, presented by Rival Fantasy. I'm Heather Klein. Rival Fantasy is the all-in-one fantasy sports platform. Let's welcome today's panel. Fantasy Alarm lead NFL analyst and host of Fantasy Fiasco, Andrew Coop Cooper. Host of Her Story in the Making, Britt's Fantasy Blitz, and co-host of Lightning Round, Britt Flynn. And last, but certainly not least, award-winning host, the fantasy exec, Corey Parson. Welcome, everyone.
Good morning, Heather.
Morning.
How's everyone doing today?
You know, I'm pretty good. Aside from the 4 a.m. storm, and, I just got my life changed last night by Lana, so it's pretty great.
We had a 4 a.m. storm here, Hurricane Laney, which is the name of my new daughter. And the storm was brewing until 4 a.m. But that means I got a full 3 hours of sleep, which is, as a dad, is plenty. Right, Corey?
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's all you really need. You know what I'm saying? So still got a long way to go, but I'll be there with you.
I'm ready to rock.
All right, let's get to it, guys. It was announced yesterday that ESPN is launching a sportsbook with a partnership with Penn Entertainment, which owned Barstool Sportsbook. ESPN will rebrand and relaunch the sportsbook this fall in 16 states. Penn will pay ESPN $1.5 billion over a 10-year period. Penn also sold Barstool back to founder Dave Portnoy. Here's Dan Lust, our sports legal analyst and host of Better Court, talking about
there once was a time when ESPN was not allowed to talk about bets. Now we have an ESPN bet, and Barstool is now valued at close to $1 billion. Why? Betting. Follow the money. Speaking of money, there once was a time where former NCAA president Mark Emmert said that under his watch, college athletes will never be paid. But we are in the midst of the NIL era. It is very much an arms race in the world of college football. And now what do we have to do? That's right. Follow the money. And when you ask yourself, how does any of this make sense? Why does ESPN have a betting platform? Why are USC and UCLA playing in middle America? We follow the money.
What are your thoughts on this new deal? And how do you think this venture will impact the industry? Britt, you're up first.
Yeah, I mean, Dan said it completely perfectly, right? Follow the money, because that's all that this deal is. ESPN is laying off 20-year tenured hosts because they don't have enough money, yet they signed Pat McAfee to an $85 million deal. The thing is, ESPN is broke. They're giving broke boy energy, and they have to find a way to actually recoup their losses. And the way to do that is to venture into sports betting. It's kind of very just annoying, to be quite honest, that they are letting these tenured hosts who were the pinnacle of sports broadcasting and journalism go. And then they're like, okay, well, we'll just bring this back in. It feels very inauthentic, I think. And then getting Barstool in on it, I'm not even going to go there.
Broke boy energy. I like that. That sounds like it would be the name of me and Corey's record label or something. So here's the thing. I personally like gambling. It's a lot of fun. What I don't like is commercials. I'm not sure if any of you guys have watched a NASCAR race or a soccer game, but the commercials are fully integrated into the actual event. And ESPN, if they're going to have their own gambling company, the last thing I want is in between plays Troy Aikman to be talking about the money line and talking about parlays. These companies are already flying a little too close to the sun when it comes to the worst kept secret, which is that the house typically wins, right? DraftKings will write articles on their own website telling you how to bet on their website. This stuff needs a little more separation, in my opinion. ESPN better be very careful with how they roll out this product on their own broadcast.
This is an interesting topic right here. And I'll start off by saying that, I don't want to show disrespect to any companies or any people or anything like that. But let's just get into this. This is what these people need to understand. FanDuel and DraftKings have a 10-year advantage on these sports betting companies that get into this space, and they own all of the market share. So let me ask you people a question, everybody out there. Have you ever placed a bet on the SI Sportsbook? They got one. Have you ever placed a bet on the Yahoo Sportsbook? They got one. You ever placed a bet on Fox Bet? They got a sportsbook app too. Pretty soon, all of these apps will be gone. And you know what? ESPN is probably going to end up seeing the same fate right here. The worldwide leader is in a lot of trouble. Don't get me wrong, they still got the games, and that brings in the advertisers. You know what I'm saying? But really, your network is back-ended by Stephen A. Smith and Pat McAfee in the games. And you're showing right now a lot of weakness, and I think we can get into that in the group chat part.
Yeah, Corey, you hit the nail on the head. That was something that I was thinking about early on. The worldwide leader in sports is not even close to the leader in sports anymore. And it feels like that they're grasping at straws just to make sure that they are still relevant and still have a stake in the betting market or in the sports market. Because you think about it, you had like Stuart A. Smith, just every single, I remember from being a kid, every single broadcast that they had, that was something that we looked forward to. That was something that set them apart from the market. We don't have that anymore. So what are they going to do?
There was a golden era, the golden
Right.
era of Sports Center, right? With like Stuart Scott and that whole crew. Like that was must-watch television, but you're right. And that's why I'm so concerned about it. Because what are they going to do now? If this is the only product keeping them afloat, they're just going to gradually force these guys on air. And I know they don't want to do it, to push and push and push people to gamble and to gamble on their sports book to the point where the broadcast is going to be, based entirely on, Dawson Knox just hit his over of 13.5 receiving yards. Like, it's fun, but I want the game to be the game and then leave the gambling and the fantasy to the rest of us.
But see, here's the problem with ESPN, and I'll just keep it a buck, and this may not be popular commentary, but it is what it is. You're looking, this is ESPN's main problem. Penn basically had to give Dave Portnoy his company back for nothing because Portnoy knew that ESPN wanted nothing to do with him. See, that's their problem. The people, the culture that made ESPN is the culture that they're now turning their back on. This is what the average sports fan is. Why do you think Barstool and some of these independent sites are doing so much better than ESPN? Because that's where the real sports fans are. ESPN took a drastic turn and they left their culture behind. And that's why they're in trouble right now. I'm sorry.
I would argue a little bit about Barstool's culture, but that's a topic for another day.
Britt, that's where the sports fans are at. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like, dislike the guys as much as you want. I know it started out as a smut blog, but Portnoy knows how to bring people in. He knows how to get the people going.
I'm just going to leave it there. I don't have enough energy for this today.
Well, I tell you, Britt, that's part of the magic is that he can get you going too. Like he's definitely embraced the fact that all engagement is engagement. There's no such thing as bad news over with David Portnoy.
All right, next topic. No comment. That's basically Britt's stance.
I do one more thing about this. I would like to talk to Dan Luss about it. If you read the agreement, though, it says that they can't compete with a sports book. I'm not sure if that means that Barstool can't start another sports book, which I doubt they will, or does that mean that they can't have sports book advertised on their platform? If that's the case, now they're in trouble too.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they kept something together there where they're still the official sports book of Barstool, something like that.
Reigning AP NFL Defensive Player of the Year, Nick Bosa has decided not to attend 49ers training camp and will hold out in hopes for a new contract. He's in his final year of his rookie contract. Yesterday, the younger Bosa was named 4th overall on NFL's top 100 players of 2023, actually Monday. Do you feel the 49ers and their star defensive end will come to an agreement on a big extension prior to the start of the season? Britt, you're up first.
Yeah, so Kyle Shanahan has no concerns whatsoever. If anybody asks him what's going on, he'll flat out tell you. There's nothing that he's concerned about. The fact is that, these players holding out for big contracts are looking to preserve their health. Look at what happened to Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow was out there and he had a pending contract, and then he got a calf strain. And everybody is like, why was he out there? Why was he participating in practice? He already knows the team. He already has the situation. Why is he out there risking injury? And I think that is what's going on with Bosa. They're going to get a deal done. They're already completely fine. I think that this is much ado about nothing, to be honest.
Yeah, well, the 49ers now on the wrong side of the slippery slope that comes with capitulating to these situations. I mean, we watched A.J. Brown hold out for a contract or a trade, and the team traded him. Some teams are willing to make the tough decision. Then his agent immediately went to Deebo Samuel and said, now it's your turn. And the 49ers turned around and paid him a boatload of money, right? $24 million a year. So now another 49er player says it's my turn to hold out. And if he gets away with it, his agent is the same agent for Joe Burrow and the same agent for Justin Jefferson, and it'll probably trickle down to those guys too. So if you're going to be a team that gives in to these guys that are demanding trades or holding out, just know that everybody else in that room is going to say, oh, that looked like that was a pretty smart move for Deebo. Now it's Nick's turn.
Yeah, this is right here is a classic sit-in scenario right here where the player is not really holding out. He's more holding in, more or less keeping himself healthy and fresh for the season. I don't need to see Nick Bosa in practice. You can show up before week 1. Now we got to get the deal done because you're the best defensive player in the NFL. And that get off the way he plays is a big part of what they do. Now it's going to be interesting. The highest paid defender in the league right now is Aaron Donald at $31 million. And he's a 3-technique defensive tackle, right? And very important players. They can wreck a whole offense. But now you look at an edge rusher like Nick Bosa, right? He's up this year. And then you got Micah Parsons up next year. I would not be surprised if Bosa and Parsons get close to the $40 million range and you have 2 defenders making quarterback money.
No, I was actually going to bring that up, Corey. So I'm so glad that you brought up the Cowboys so that I have an opportunity to respond. Classic. But I think that Micah Parsons is absolutely in the conversation. He's the favorite for Defensive Player of the Year. As far as anybody even goes for MVP, he's up there. I think that's why Jerry Jones is a little bit concerned about, Zach Martin and bringing back Ezekiel Elliott, because he's got to worry about signing Parsons. And if Bosa resets the market, it's going to be really disgusting for him.
The Cowboys, what they should do is make him the highest paid player at the position right now before he realizes that he should be paid way more than what everybody else in his position is getting. It's the same thing with like Rob Gronkowski, where they immediately made him the highest paid. Him and McCourty made the highest paid tight ends and safeties before those guys realized that Gronk is more valuable than a tight end. So I would give that guy, try and get as close to that number, but above it as possible before he realizes that he's special and before Corey cashes out on that MVP bet and Defensive Player of the Year bet.
Now, look at the brilliance of Jerry Jones, though. He has already paid Zach Martin as the highest paid at his position for years now. So, Zach, come to camp when you're ready, son. You know what I'm saying? You got a job to do. Don't worry about getting no more money from Jerry. Now, if Dallas really wants to save money, they can take it from number 4, who makes $40 million a year, who threw 3 interceptions in practice yesterday.
So I will say this about, you made a great point, and it really leads into how important this tight end position is, because like you said, Nick Bosa, there's an argument that he's the best defensive player in the league. And there's an argument that Trent Williams is the best lineman in the league. And there's an argument that George Kittle's the best 2-way tight end in the league. And Kyle Juszczyk is the best fullback. And Christian McCaffrey is the best running back. Yet we sit here and say this team's going to lose to the Steelers week 1. That's how important this,
I like that.
Right? That's how important the quarterback position is in this league, right? It's crazy that if this team had even a quarterback where we could say this guy is Kirk Cousins or anybody, they would be the favorite to win the Super Bowl. That's how important that one position is.
And you know why they can pay all of these people? Because when they traded up to get a player that they're not going to have to pay. You
Right.
see what I'm saying? Even if Purdy gets to the point where they extend him, you don't really have to pay him $40 million because of the draft capital that you spent. So their financial situation is good because Trey Lance sucks.
Patriots did it, moving on from $100 million Drew Bledsoe, because that was what the deal was. It wasn't just Drew Bledsoe versus Tom Brady. It was Drew Bledsoe versus Tom Brady and all the guys they could sign.
Drew Bledsoe was a Cowboy for a little bit.
He's pretty nice, though. I like Bledsoe.
He led to the Tony Romo era. And that was a great quarterback.
The Detroit Lions have been touted as the best team in the NFC North, and the juice may be worth the squeeze. At their joint practice with the New York Giants, the Lions looked great overall and showed that they are a team to be reckoned with on both sides of the ball. Coop, do you believe the One Pride hype? And do you think Jared and co. can not only get to the playoffs, but earn their first postseason win since 1991?
Yeah, so obviously the defense needs to take a step forward here, but on offense, there's a crazy amount of pressure on one player, and that player is actually Jameson Williams. If you look at what Jared Goff does well, it's dink and dunk. He has no problem throwing it to Cooper Kupp and Tyler Higbee and Amon-Ra St. Brown, and they added 2 more of those players in Jahmyr Gibbs and Sam Laporta. So that part of the game is covered. It's the part of the game that Jared Goff has struggled with that keeps the defense honest, that they need to improve it. And that's kind of the key that unlocks the whole thing. So when Jameson Williams comes back with his speed to stretch the field, if they can't make that work, teams are going to realize they can just sit back in those shell defenses and tackle Amon-Ra St. Brown when he has 13 receptions for 75 yards. So Jameson Williams is the key. And unfortunately, because of the gambling thing, we're not going to see him until halfway through the season.
Jameson Williams should have had that suspension reduced. The
Agreed.
NFLPA, DeMaurice Smith, well, he's well protected by Roger Goodell. Detroit Lions. I'm fading the Detroit Lions. We all know that. I'm taking the under on the Detroit Lions. I like the Packers to win that division. And it's 2 things that I don't like about the team. Well, 3. I don't like the hype. The preseason hype team, the Broncos, the Browns from a couple of years ago, it never works out. And the Lions are in a weak NFC, so give them a little bit more credence. Their head coach, he's very likable, but I'm not sure he's a great head coach. And I'm sure I think he's a problem. On defense, they're terrible. They're going to be a great team for fantasy football. Obviously, they're opening up, you know what I'm saying, week 1, going up against Kansas City. They're going to light up the scoreboard and get off to a great fantasy start. So I think their offensive prowess is going to be interesting. You'll get into that. But this is not a team that I will see, even if they do make the playoffs. The Detroit Lions will not be playing in the divisional round of the NFC playoffs.
So the thing with me is that Jared Goff looked so good on paper last season, right? But if you break it down, where he actually excelled in home games. I think like 23 of his 29 touchdowns were thrown at home. If you look at their schedule, 4 of their last 6 games are away. I think down that stretch that Jared Goff and the Lions are going to struggle tremendously. Now, I will kind of push back against Corey. I think that with Aiden Hutchinson, I think with drafting Jack Campbell, that their defense is going to get a lot better. And, Brian Branch too. But they've still got so much work to do. Their schedule is so hard. I don't think that coming out on top in the NFC North is going to actually be an indicator of how successful that they are. They've got a lot of work to do.
You know who that Lions playoff victory was against in 1991? Anybody?
Corey.
What? It was against the Cowboys.
I was 2.
Sorry. I watched the game.
I'll go back and check that one out.
Hey, Matt says, why do I think Jameson Williams is going to be the next great Lions busted wide receiver? Listen, if you look at these Alabama wide receivers lately, Judy has not lived up to expectation. Ruggs had an unfortunate situation go down. Jamison Williams off to a slow start. We got John Mechie. Really, besides Devontae Smith, these dudes is not really living up to expectations.
Well, it's because they got to play with the great Mac Jones, you know.
Hey, don't do that to my man, Mac Jones. Mac Jones, hey, let me tell you something. Mac Jones about to go crazy this year.
I'm in, brother. Trust me, dude. I'm down. So yeah, the thing with Jameson Williams is honestly, we haven't even seen him play yet. We haven't and a couple times he has gotten the ball. Both times were 40-yard plays. So I'm willing to hold out to see what happens. If we look at the Cowboys' great Dez Bryant, when he was a rookie, Mike Williams from the Buccaneers was the best rookie. And I remember sitting back in fantasy and being like, oh yeah, this is the guy right here, 1,000-yard rookie. And then it turns out that Mike Williams from the Buccaneers wasn't as good in his own class as Dez Bryant and Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders and Eric Decker and Antonio Brown and Golden Tate. Like, he wasn't even top 10 in his own class. So we got to give these guys a little bit of time before we start saying one guy's a bust or even saying one guy's the best in the class. Like, do we know it's Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave? Or maybe it's Drake London. Maybe it's Jameson Williams. Maybe it's Treylon Burks. Britt.
Thank you, Coop.
I knew you were going to bite my face off if I didn't get that one in there. So Christian Watson, I'll throw him in there too. Why not?
No, you can leave him out.
Get him in there. Come on.
All right.
Rival Fantasy is the all-in-one fantasy sports platform. Play challenges, Fantasybook, Fantasy Bingo, plus season-long fantasy football. New users who sign up at Rival Fantasy get up to a $200 deposit match and a complimentary first play voucher. Go to joinrival.com/alarm. Today we are going to play Fantasybook, where you select between 2 and 5 players in Major League Baseball, and you determine whether a player will be over or under the assigned fantasy points. The more players you choose, the more money you can potentially win. Corey, let's show everyone how the game works.
All right. Shout out to Rival Fantasies. We get ready to put this together. A little bit of entertainment. Hopefully we'll get a chance to get a win. And I got a couple pictures and I got a battle. I'm going to go over on all three. Let's start with Los Angeles Dodgers, Bobby Miller. He's on the hill tonight. Now, listen, Miller hasn't been great. He has had a lot of run support, so that's good for him right there. But what you do see is that his road ERA is low. In his last 31 innings pitched on the road, he's only given up 9 earned runs. And then when you go in here and take a look at his game log, you'll see his last couple of road outings. You see that 13 right there, 18 and 15. So we like Bobby Miller tonight. So we're going to take the over on Bobby Miller. And then we're going to stay with the pictures, and we're going to go to Yu Darvish. We're going to go over on Darvish as well. Let me get Bobby Miller right here. We'll go over on Bob Miller. Now, with Darvish, very similar to Bobby Miller, the ERA is kind of high, but he's been pitching well on the road. He hasn't been great this season, but as of recently, his form has changed. He's good on the road. Also, another one guy who in his last couple of innings, 30-something innings, he has also performed well. And we look at his road numbers right here. That 32 is on the road, that 27, 29 on the road. So Yu Darvish on the road is money. Now let's go over here, and we got to get a bat. So we'll go to the first baseman. You go down here. Okay, fantasy exec, move this around. All right, go down here, first base, and we're going to go with Matt Olson of the Atlanta Braves, and we're going to take the over on Olson as well. Let's just start off by looking at the game log. This guy's going crazy right now. Matt Olson, 11 RBIs for Olson in the month of August. Today is August 9th. 11, 12, 23, 16, 9, 20 fantasy points. So Olson is getting it done. So there goes a little 3-manner for you right there. And then the thing with Olson about today with Olson as well is he's going up against Priester. And that guy may be the worst pitcher in the majors. So there you go right there. A little bit of action from the fantasy exec. Head on over to Rival Fantasy and enjoy your good time.
Damn, I like that platform. I like that UI, how you can pull up like the little chart there that shows you how often they're above the line, man. That's pretty nice.
Yeah, it does all the research for you. You don't even have to do any of the research on your own. It does it for you, which is perfect.
I got to get in there. Do they do football too?
Yeah, some football will be scheduled in. It's not there yet. But yeah, I think when we did the challenges, that they had some challenges for the preseason game. So yeah.
Preseason. Oh yeah. Next set of preseason games. Get me on the big screen. I'm throwing some names in there, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, anything that I can bet on with football, count me in.
Look, I'm not saying I called Kenny Yeboah having the first catch for the Jets, but pretty much.
Nice. Britt, are you going to be winning those wagers?
Corey, are you joking?
I'm just asking. You know what I'm saying?
You're coming at her while she's on heater, though, dude. You gotta be careful, Britt. Well, you've been hitting like 5 days in a row, right?
I win everything, always, all the time.
Okay,
Corey, the audacity, Corey.
You're coming at Corey. I'm telling you right now, man. You're coming after on a 5-day heater, day after a Lana Del Rey concert, man. I wouldn't be coming at the Tigress on that one.
I'm just saying, this is baseball. This is baseball. When we get to the NFL, I just want to make sure that the winners keep on piling up. So the
NFL is my bread and butter. If I'm winning on baseball, I'm definitely winning on NFL. Come on, dude.
Yeah, wait for football.
Oh, and Sellers in the comment. Love that dude.
Sellers is a dude, man.
Britt said, "All I do is win, win, win." That's basically what she. Exactly. There you go, Coop.
Oh, dude. It's record label, baby. Broke Boys. We're out together.
I love it. That has a good. That was very, very witty. I like that. I think that has a good ring to it. Coop and Corey, Broke Boy Records.
Relax.
Corey's gonna be broke if he keeps betting against me.
Ooh. Shots fired. No spicy. That was today's edition of A Bettor Morning. Thank you to Corey, Britt, and Coop. Make sure you check out Quick Out Fantasy Football with John and Pemba and Coop. If you missed any of our shows, you can find them all on YouTube channel and at bettorsports.com. Coop, what time is Quick Out Fantasy Football?
Quick Out's at 1 today, and we have a special guest, former college and NFL tight end Jake Butt, coming on to talk a little tight ends with us, man. So we got a former tight end, now Big Ten network analyst, coming in to talk his own position. So good stuff, and my favorite position. So it's going to be great.
Love it. Oh, Butt and tight end, huh?
That's right. Yeah, it's one of those days. Yeah, follow him on Twitter.
Now, you see, if I would have been juvenile like that,
I'd get away with it.
I know, my bad.
Follow him on Twitter though at jbooty88. That's his Twitter handle. So
stop. I love it. I love it. All right, everyone, have a better day. Thanks, guys.